Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to start with India's phenomenal recent run in one-day internationals, and then we're going to pull back to look at the absolutely fascinating bigger picture. If you've been following Indian cricket, you know the momentum right now is just electric. But what's happening out there on the field? That's really only half the story. Because behind closed doors, selectors and management are using some incredible, highly specific, data-driven strategies. They're meticulously constructing a squad built to absolutely conquer the 2027 World Cup. So we're going to unpack exactly how they're doing it, combining raw performance stats with the literal science of sports aging.
11. That is a massive, massive number. It represents India's staggering 11 victories out of just 14 ODI matches played in the year 2025. Think about that for a second. They tasted defeat exactly 3 times all year long. That's the kind of win percentage that simply doesn't happen by accident, right? It's the result of a highly tuned machine operating at absolute peak efficiency.
You can literally see the trail of victories right here. They've been dominating top-tier opponents like England, Bangladesh, and South Africa. This brilliantly illustrates their current dominance, but behind the scenes, a calculated and frankly massive transition is already underway. Management isn't just staring at today's scoreboard. They're looking ahead. They are anticipating exactly where these players will be, both physically and mentally, 2 years from now. So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. A year of dominance. 2. The science of peaking. 3. The Afghanistan test lab. 4. The middle order conundrum. And 5. Auditioning the pace battery. Let's start with part 1. A year of dominance. Looking at our 2025 recap. To really understand how India laid the groundwork for the future, you have to look at their leadership. What's super interesting here is that management intentionally rotated 3 entirely different captains over the course of the year. It wasn't chaos, it was a carefully orchestrated experiment. Under Rohit Sharma, they secured the ultimate prize, the Champions Trophy. But then, keeping an eye on the long road ahead, they handed the reins to Shubman Gill for the Australia Tour and later KL Rahul for the South Africa Series, which, by the way, India won 2-1. They are proactively building deep leadership benches so that when the veterans eventually step back, there's absolutely no vacuum at the top. Moving on to part 2, the science of peaking, exploring youth versus experience. Now, to deeply understand the future of this squad, we really have to ask the ultimate sports science question. At what exact age does a player's rising tactical experience perfectly balance out their inevitably declining physical fitness? Because, let's face it, time is a unidirectional variable. Players can always gain experience, but they're continuously spending their youth. Well, based on recent behavioral economics data that analyzes historical ODI matches, we see a stark, quantifiable contrast. It's fascinating. Bowlers, simply because of the immense, grueling physical demands of their role, hit their absolute peak between 22 and 26 years of age. Batter, however, peak much later, typically between 27 and 30 years old, as their tactical acumen and their ability to really read the game grows. This means building a team isn't just about grabbing the best names on paper, it's about perfectly synchronizing these completely different biological timelines. The crucial point here is how these performance and difference curves actually visualize that exact phenomenon. Think of it kind of like a budget. When a player debuts, they have maximum youth but zero experience. As they move along this curve over time, they're essentially trading their physical fitness for tactical experience. For a batter, the curve shows that the benefits from experience outweigh the loss of youth much further down the line. But for a fast bowler, where raw explosive energy is absolutely paramount, that peak happens so much earlier. This candid quote from Saurav Ganguly, talking about playing as a veteran, perfectly grounds the economic theory we just looked at. It shows how veteran players literally have to use their mental strength and accumulated experience to compensate for their aging bodies on the pitch. But there comes a point where mental strength simply cannot overcome the biological reality of elite sports. And that is exactly the delicate balance the selectors are managing right now. Which brings us to part 3, the Afghanistan test lab and squad striking. Let's apply this scientific framework directly to the micro-decisions of the newly announced squad for the upcoming Afghanistan series. This series isn't just about winning matches, it's a vital testing ground. Looking at the changes, we have Ishan Kishan storming his way back in alongside debutants Prince Yadav and Gurnur Brar. Meanwhile, massive names like Rashad Pant, Ravindra Jadeja, and Jasprit Bumrah are either out or being strategically rested. Rather than just random rotation, resting aging veterans to manage their physical load while introducing exceptionally fit rookies is a highly calculated move. They're engineering the perfect age-balanced team. They are purposely injecting that raw under-26 youth into the system right now.
On to part 4, the middle order conundrum and seeking strike rate. Drilling down further, the data exposes specific friction points that the management must urgently solve if they want to lift the trophy in 2027. Just look at these strike rates for the last 10 overs of an ODI match. You have spin all-arounders like Ravindra Jadeja striking at 117.3 and Washington Sundar at 82.02. Now compare that to pure batters like Rishabh Pant striking at a staggering 180.1 and KL Rahul at 149. Playing spin-balling all-arounders in those crucial middle to lower slots sacrifices the explosive thrust needed in the final overs. So, the management is staring at a massive tactical trade-off. They are using this Afghanistan series to figure out if relying on aging spin all-rounders to provide bowling depth is truly worth the cost. Is it worth leaving roughly 25 to 30 runs on the table at the end of an innings? In modern ODI cricket, falling 30 runs short of a par score because your lower middle order lacks firepower? That's a fatal flaw. Part 5. Auditioning the pace battery on the road to 2027. Shifting to the defensive side of the equation, let's examine the intensive auditions happening right now for the fast bowling lineup. Let's be perfectly clear. Jasprit Bumrah is the undisputed, guaranteed lock for the 2027 pace attack. The guy is essentially a cheat code in any format. While Bumrah is the absolute anchor of this unit, his strategic resting during series like this opens a massive door for younger talent to prove their peak fitness on the international stage. Behind Bumrah, these 4 primary seamers are actively competing for the incredibly limited remaining slots. You have Prasidh Krishna, whose height allows him to hit hard lengths and generate awkward bounce, which will be absolutely crucial for South African pitches in 2027. You have Harshit Rana bringing raw pace, Arshdeep Singh providing that highly sought-after left-arm variety and swing, and of course, the ever-reliable Mohammad Siraj. It makes every single match right now a high-stakes dress rehearsal because honestly, not all of them will make the final cut.
Furthermore, injecting absolute youth into the mix, like IPL standouts Prince Yadav and Gurner Brar, perfectly aligns with the scientific need for maximum physical fitness in the bowling attack. Remember our data from earlier? Bowlers peak between 22 and 26. The selectors know for a fact they need fast bowlers who are hitting their absolute physical prime exactly when that World Cup kicks off. As we wrap up this explainer, you can see how every single selection right now is a piece of the 2027 puzzle falling into place. They are testing the waters, resting the weary, and unleashing the new blood. But it leaves us with one massive question. Can this highly calculated, data-driven blend of youth and experience successfully build the ultimate world-beating squad? Okay.